Roses are red, violets are blue. Welcome to Jam. I'm happy to see you. That's my fault. I am maybe going to work up someday to joining the poetry recitation. I was one of those pandemic poets who discovered that I wanted to express myself in poetry, but I don't identify as a poet, and I would be terrified to do what many of you are going to share with us, and I'm super excited about this. But I am here just to say a brief word of welcome and let you know where you are. We are here at JAM, Junction Arts and Media. I'm Samantha Davidson-Green. I'm executive director here. On the cameras and in the back, they're all on camera, so that makes them easy to spot. We've got Cedar O'Dowd and Kate Barber and Jordan Fitch, and I am so lucky to get to work with these phenomenal media artists here. If you aren't quite sure about this organization, you might know about CATV, Community Access Television. We are the new CATV. We merged last year with White River Indie Films and moved into this space to create one home base for media arts and to embrace all the interesting hybrid forms that people are inventing. I think the pandemic was such a time of creativity about how to use media in different ways, live, and then that can become a recorded piece of history. So we wanted to shake up the mold of what a creative space would be and how people might use this kind of place to share their art form and then for us to record it. And otherwise, I just want to thank you so much for bringing Lampshade Poets here. This started, as many things here at JAM do, with Dave over there, bringing creative projects to my awareness and networking me with Pam and Janet so I could learn more about your group. We're really honored to be the place you chose to come back together after your hiatus during the pandemic. And I'll turn it over to you guys and show us how this works. Thank you.
Thank you. So a number of, I guess this summer, Pam Ahlen and I and Ina Anderson, we saw each other at Bookstock and we said, oh gosh, we love the Lampshade Poets and it's gone now and we loved it. Well, hey, why don't we just bring it back? And so that's what we're doing. Here we are, and we're right around the corner from our original roots. And so we were absolutely delighted. And here you are, so thanks for coming. You have all signed up for a slot, so since there are fewer people than we thought might have been here, and we said only 2 poems, so you can have at it and read more than 2 if you would like to. And if you go on and on and on for an hour, then I'll tell you to stop. So I think that, and I have an announcement from Drew Fraser from Sundog. His poetry, Sundog Poetry, is hosting another poetry event here at JAM next Thursday on the 16th, featuring Sydney Lee, Diana Whitney, and 3 others, and the event is free to attend, so they've got another opportunity next week. All right, let's get going, and we are starting with Andy Bauer.
I have a stool you could put this on.
Oh,
okay.
I'm getting a little prop for my laptop because my printer went and died on me, so I have to use this.
I was
Which I don't like.
to come stand and hold it. This is better.
Fine. Anyway, I'll just wait a second. And while I'm waiting, I'll just say it's so nice to be here. The joy of going first is that then you don't have any little anxiety.
Is this high enough? Or we have that stool over there?
This is too low.
Too low?
Do you want the stool?
I can just hold it a second.
Yeah, let's bring the stool in.
So you get to go first, and then you're just free to just listen without any thinking about what you have to do. Oh, thank you.
It's a
That's
little
very
higher,
nice.
is that better?
Yes, that's much better. I just have to increase the size a little. Or not. No, I'm still gonna hold it.
Okay.
I need something to hold. Okay, this is called Brain Tumbles. Reaching for that flower's name, only another arises, hyacinth. Hydrangea blooms, 3 syllables, ghosting what I seek. Mind loops, tries to lasso images, but a stubborn donkey won't let me pass. just like months ago, searching memory's canyons for that soup, you know, the one with tomato, beans, macaroni, veggies. For 3 days, only manicotti appeared. In despair, I pulled out cookbook. Of course, minestrone. From the dark comes a picture, trumpets its name, hibiscus, cousin to Rose of Sharon. Inside the skull, each year packs the brain, nerves and synapses slacked, jammed. Oh, to become octopus with small brain at each extremity, fingers and toes holding soup, flowers, titles of books, names of past teachers. Shakespeare's actors cast their lines on parts of the set, steps, plinths, columns. Could reel off monologues as eyes moved across each element of stage and building. Made memory solid, gave it weight. From distant years comes a ring, Chelsea 20175, childhood phone number. Okay, so that's the first one. So this is called Second Avenue Tea Store. When I was a kid, when I was 19 maybe, and had my first apartment on the Lower East Side, I discovered this tea store. Oh, it was amazing. We never had tea at our house. Second Avenue Tea Store. Sun streams into tea store. My shadow black against mottled brown floor. Tea perfumes the air. Row upon row of cans and jars. Labels I can't read from doorway and still can't read when inside. Dazed by shelves of pots and cups. Stoneware, porcelain, glass, tiny to huge, plain and ornate. At the long dark counter, with 2 scales, smiling but silent, the guardian waits. His head is a mass of gray and brown tendrils, as if he'd grown tea on his skull. His shirt and apron brownish too. His eyes glimmer like the clever tea bowls on the counter to his right. Tiny teapot, lotus flower, fat cat, each with flowing chain and hook. On his left, an antique cash register, bronzed and scrolled. I tell him we never had tea at home, though my faraway father drank hookwa. And after a few questions, kinds, countries, he sets 4 saucers on the counter, drops a sample in each, Darjeeling, Lapsang Souchong, jasmine, rolled gunpowder green, and shows how to rub the leaves between thumb and forefinger, take in the scent. The leaves must be dry, but not too dry. Not old like in tea bags, just by a little at a time, keep it fresh. And advises the best is made loose in a pot. The right pot, one you admire, of shape and size that speak to you. The right cup, waves his hand towards the display. I only have money for 2 teas today. The rolled gunpowder, scented jasmine. He spoons them from canisters into small paper bags. Twists their tops, nice and tight, weighs them, glances at the ceiling as he calculates prices and takes my money. The heavy cash register dings like a gong in ancient China. I place the 2 bags in jacket pocket and he says, "See you soon. You'll have time for a new tea, a new pot, a new cup." Okay, last poem, and it's shorter. I don't know about you, some of you are approaching my age, but you have to decide what's going to happen to your body when you die. So mine's going to go to Dartmouth if they want me, or 2 other places if they don't want me, because, you know, they need cadavers. Anatomical gift program. You can write a poem about anything, can't you? You'll handle this body in the ice-cold lab, unhinge each muscle, tendon, bone, Learn the paths I've followed and missed. Read the twists, tears, scars of my years. Note the missing ovary, scoliosis, arthritic joints, that one nipple almost a double. Your professors will say, treat each cadaver with respect. This gift someone has given. But you have my permission. Let the words flow.
Next up, we have Bob Powell.
Thanks for the organizers. I'm not sure who you all are, but I really appreciate it. I know it's not easy to put something together like this and keep it going, and I'm grateful that it's starting again. So that's great. I'm going to read two poems. The first one's called Hydraulic Load. It's really an elegy for my Uncle Walter, Walter Newman. The only thing you probably need to know is hydraulic. It's called hydraulic load. It's an engineering term referring to certain pressure parameters in your leaching field. Okay, all right, and it's also got some references to contemporary things that I think have a pretty high penetrance in the culture, and people will probably get. So, hydraulic load. Septic systems, maybe, but to thoughtful people, the Holocaust is not funny, unless that awful laugh Albert Camus talked about. And with laughter like that, you can also hear the void. A septic system is specific, earnest. Say Auschwitz to quiet a room. We don't laugh at the couple making out during Schindler's List. Seinfeld knew this. But at those shocked by them, had life going on. Even at Bergen-Belsen or Dachau, sex must have saved lives, unless discovered. It was a family joke that Uncle Walter, who trained as an engineer and worked most of his life for the EPA, at the mention of any locale in New England, could name the nearest wastewater treatment plant. That's funny, huh? Glad other people think so. He couldn't get enough of Larry David, who once tried to be funny about picking up girls in a concentration camp, who got it right in Curb Your Enthusiasm when a concentration camp survivor and the winner of the Survivor reality show argued about who suffered more. In the end, water can always be cleaned with enough effort, enough means, no matter how long it is mixed up with shit. Like his beloved Lake Massapog or Boston Harbor. Human nature, not so much. His passion for Israel was not nostalgic, but gun barrel cold. The money, the effort spent, like dentures for his kids, something for the future, to be ready for the next time. That's why, if there is a heaven, Uncle Walter will be polite. He will tell God the one about the septic system. You know the one. A man's roof leaks, his basement floods, causing a terrible electric fire. The house burns to the ground. The man escapes, but his wife and children don't. The adjuster says nothing is covered. But the engineer has good news. The leaching field retains optimal hydraulic load. God says, that's not funny. Walter says, I know, it wasn't. This one's a new poem, so forgive me. But I brought both these poems in because they're topical. This one's called Gaza. So please, if it's not really my idea to provoke or offend anybody. Okay, I've tried very hard to not do that. But I wanted to say something meaningful, so forgive me if this offends anybody. Gaza. It's about a real incident. It's about real people. This is a real news story. Gaza. I'm certainly not unusual, and there's nothing noteworthy or heroic about being unimpressed or skeptical to public displays of virtue, except this courage was not televised upon the screen so many of us have come to distrust ourselves. Not displayed, but manifested. Life is art, from a tradition, a way of life, well-honed practice skills, a sacrifice that demanded those two put aside their son, their daughter-in-law, as against a stone, as well as their two precious grandchildren, who they loved more than their own lives, and make them wait hours and hours after hunger, after thirst, long after the little ones were impatient for this game to end, long after they knew it was no game. But by some trick of temperament, faith stayed wrapped to a mother's or father's face, stayed quiet, only the merest word, a hush, long after the cell phone was dead, in a single, no longer safe room, precarious, thin as the difference between Hebrew and Arabic when whispered. So close to a horrendous death, which if those two took the time to imagine, would have paralyzed them in a shaft of horror. But instead they delay, take time to save the Matzner's, a young couple as beautiful as their own waiting children, then two Israeli soldiers who otherwise would have exsanguinated. The one called Gila gets them all to safety, and to do so must turn away to drive even further from her beloved's waiting. It must have been easier for the other, the retired Major General, who can now proceed with that single brave soldier who joined up with them when they were still just grandparents, going the wrong way into a war zone, and now has ad hoc a band of special forces, can move house to house, clearing them like a domestic chore, one by one, until he gets to that window where there is silence before, and silence like the empty thud of soldiers' boots or the echo of gunfire after. He taps and says something in Hebrew. Not I am here. Maybe open, open. And finally hears Saba Hagia from the inside. Oh granddaughter, Galia, you are saved this time. And none of the corpses of headless children massacred brutally here out of hate, out of despair are yours to a pyromaniac God. The poet steals my voice as it were his. What chutzpah. He presumes that just as surely among the hated enemy waiting for death, among the crowded corridors of Gaza, to a man is a man that I would call soldier, I could admire, one truly noble, or 5, or 10. Yes, I do presume. Forgive me, I do. And none of my presumption taints the shine of your grandparents. And if not now among them, then surely among the others, surely you will grant this. More than 50 souls, the very best. Count the stars. Try to count them, and the millions of children. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you all for you guys who started this up again. It's really very nice. So,
Say your name, please.
my name is Laura Foley, and I'm going to start with live streaming in Lucky Café. He hums the alphabet song as his fingers trace embossed license plates adorning the wall by his chair. I hand him some blueberry scone, some cheese. He sings, noticing me, noticing him, and the soft rain just beginning to silver our window, and the road, the park, the evergreen hemlocks, maple leaves beginning to turn this warm, late summer day. Strangers smile at us, and he dimples back. He traces a letter, M, for Milo, then G for Grandma. The rain slows, stops, then begins again. So I had a medical event about 10 days ago, and it all turned out really well. But this is what happened. Yes, I clutch my ribs to keep them from splitting as I step into the midnight ambulance, lungs and heart battling a tiny interior war, trying to wrest from me my life. Clara, on our lawn, recedes toward the garage, and I'm too much in pain to manage any words of love or gratitude, just a tepid wave. Inside, it's a brightly lit little hospital on wheels, 2 young EMTs attaching probes, then a medication to take away pain. I float, boasting to my new friends, John and Troy, how I've walked 5 miles every day for 3 years, published 9 books of poetry, given birth at home 3 times, suffered 1 ectopic pregnancy. John praises my stoicism, fitness, wonders if I will write about him. So I crow, yes, to bright, clean lights sweeping midnight pain, yes, to our chariot of healing, wending its way through silent streets beneath a starry sky. And one more very short one. On the day of the Lewiston shootings, my granddaughter lives in Maine. I have a granddaughter living in Maine, and my son and his wife. So I was very taken up with that scary situation. Why not? Peak season. The October day after the Lewiston massacre, I crossed the bridge in massacred Sandy Hook. Peak foliage season, all the trees screaming, look at our blood-colored leaves. Thank you.
Good evening. It's good to see a lot of familiar faces and a few unfamiliar faces. My name is Hal Coughlin. I am hoping to read 3 if I'm not overwhelmed by rotten fruit or whatever. Anyways, I would like to thank everyone that has come tonight. I'd even like to thank the apparently visually impaired person that painted the chairs. But anyways, the first poem, Carrying Things. A recent trip to Maine, a few hours to spare on a rainy afternoon, an LL Bean's mega store nearby, and I became a shopper. Wandering into the hiking backpack area, I admire the hundreds of ways to carry things on display. I couldn't think of anything I needed to carry, but the possibilities were compelling. Packs for trips never to be taken, ways to carry things not needed but always wanted, innovative containers for things I will never own. I might be able to convince myself I need another messenger bag, an over-the-shoulder carry-all bag. I see a display apart from the others, head over, looking at a nice-sized black ripstop nylon item, carefully opening each compartment. One is oddly waterproof, perfect for carrying a water bottle, I think. Finally, getting to the price, everything is so expensive, but this might be possible. Finding the product description bag, I sigh, put it down, and slowly turn and walk away. I look casually around, trying to see if anyone has seen me looking at a fancy diaper bag. A dog's life. On a hike today, this was from this past hot summer. On a hike today, trail hot, hard, lots of uphill and down, far into the walk while crossing the only road. A car is parked at this trailhead entrance. I stop, just curious. A couple, perhaps 20-somethings, are looking around and calling. They had put a small poster with a picture on the trailhead board. Their dog, 20 pounds, short-haired, shy, please don't approach, has disappeared. 3 days ago, she tells me, carrying on with other odd bits of information, disjointed, only a little bit about the dog. The guy is silent, seems just unpleasant. I look around to see if I could see where the dark cloud following him is. They are going to leave a plastic bowl of water and food on paper. I leave, bemused. Most of these trails seem to rise up from the trailhead, and I think about them and their dog as I am sweating, moving up the trail. I'll agree, most dogs are better off with caring human companions, and I'm still perturbed by my meeting with the couple. I ponder my history with my dogs and several friends' dogs. The ones I have known, along with unconditional love, have their own agency and know sometimes what is best for themselves. She told me she would pose. Today, that phrase came to me. Years became a transparent interlude. She would pose for an art class without clothes, curves and skin, always worthy subjects. She gave me one student's drawing she especially liked. Standing, almost full frontal, forearms in front of her breasts, hands covering her face, the swale of thigh and hip. Not much detail or not enough, depending on mood. If you didn't know, it could be a random woman. These years, I hardly ever look at the portrait. I'm looking at it now, wondering how it is, just part of the background. It's so prominently placed. When you come into that room, it is not able to be missed. I had learned all I could from our time, the pleasure, and in her ending, pain. I return to the pleasure when I want it or require it. I still put on the face I used when pretending to be logical and wonder about issues unresolved. Accepting, acknowledging some endings are open-ended. The picture, beatific, possibly subtle in the colors. She, now and again, becomes apparent when I write about her. I am more open to things than I used to be. Slowly I wander among some pictures of her in my mind. Now looking at the likeness of her, she is here again. And I realize the images within are clearer and stronger. Thank you for your kind attention.
Hello. Yeah, it's all right. My name is Ina Anderson. Anything else I have to say, Janet? That should do it. And to Janet and Pam, yes, also, thank you for your energy in getting this back together and reviving Dave's wonderful historical thing. Yeah. The way the world is right now, it's hard to know what to write and what to include to read, isn't it? So I'm going to start with something jolly. This one's about my childhood, and it's called Suds. Mum thought I should do it, and probably she was right. Barely 10, with a stool under my feet, most nights I washed the dishes. There was only Mum and Dad and me, not many plates and glasses, but Mum was such a cook and her pans needed a good scrub. I'd sigh and begin. There was a big dark window behind the sink, the flower pots on the old wall. There was my reflection. I would see me scrubbing in those suds, just like a grown-up. I looked like I was on the telly. So each night I put on a show. Hands busy in the soapy water, I'd tell my version of the evening news. How Queen Elizabeth would have 17 children. How Prince Charles would climb Everest on a motorbike. How the nuns at my school deserved new knickers because the ones I'd seen on their washing line were almost in shreds. And once the pots and pans were sparkling clean in those fairy liquid suds, then wiped all neat and dry, I'd end my TV show and say, good night. And that made me think of my granddaughter, a bit older than that. A more serious poem. Granddaughter. She texted me this morning, said they'd come in second, the pride somehow shining from those short words on my screen. 15 now, and rowing is her passion, a team of 8 in a boat, straining, pulling hardest, striving for the prize. And the water sprays wide in the hot New York sun, mysteriously warm in April, and their rosy faces glisten sweet with sweat. One comments how the water is already low. One dares another for a dip. I scan the years beyond her. How early will the ice be out when she is 25? How many mighty storms will she withstand? A refugee crouched on a mountaintop, all possessions lost on the drowned streets she fled? How many farmers can feed her no bread? Where will be a shack that might still offer her shelter? Some of you here know that grandchildren feeling. But hey, death's been going on for a long time, yeah? And here's an attitude that I was happy to be with, not in this country. This poem's called Varanasi, where I was. The full moon is at our backs, low in the smoky sky. In our boat, we are hushed, rocked as the boats rock, rocked in 100 small boats, rocked by Mother Ganga, on the river, all together, rocked, rocked, and blessed. Across the broad ghats, sparks mix with light, light splashes in the dark water. Water reflects back to us the red and gold of crackling fires, fires for the burning of bodies, bodies carried for miles on roof racks, on carts, on strong shoulders, to burn in this holy place. The chanting of the priests rises, drums throbbing, moonlight dancing, on the jewels in their turbans, their tunics, their slippers, their feet flashing. Branches punctuate the backlight, 10 pyres ready for the lucky bodies to receive their deepest wishes. Stripped now of their cloth of gold thread, red silk, waiting now in simple white winding sheets, they settle humbly on the careful pyres. Is it a son, a brother, a father who throws the first flame? Smoke rises in 10 tall columns. The coals glow bright in the moonlit air, snap fountains of sparks, illuminate the gathered faces, faces turned upwards in joy and duty. How long does a body burn? When does a bone loosen from its joints and fall to the ashes below? When does a skull explode into fireworks? The boys of the Ghat poke at the coals with long poles, poke to ensure the burning is complete. Leave nothing more for the flames. They gather small piles of half-burned wood to take home to their own hearths.
Didn't mention before my name. I'm Janet Watton. And I wrote this poem a couple years ago, but the sentiment is still relevant today, called A Murder of Crows. There's a gathering of crows out there in the fall leafless trees, black corvids on the dreary black branches, darkness becoming them. The mood is not improved by the leaden, threatening sky. I remember they are called a murder of crows, not a flock. Folklore has these scavengers as omens of death, gathering in cemeteries, on dead bodies on the battlefield. Now holding forth up there in my oaks, conducting trial for their wayward, the transgressions group murdered. The 15th century notion is dark, but on a bleak late November afternoon, I'm given pause to reflect on nature, on group justice, and death. And this one, some of you have already heard before. Ina Anderson has a wonderful poetry workshop, and she gives us a prompt. And the prompt for this one was, write a poem in someone else's voice. And on my way down Route 89, I saw a sign on the road. It's called Moose Lament. I actually ventured one day onto the road nearby. Moose, stay alert, said the brazen sign, jabbed into the dirt on a curve. What the hell does that mean? Do they think we can read? Well, I've learned to, feral beast that I am. And for what am I supposed to be alert, I ask myself. Alert to the fatal crashes these feckless idiots cause in their brassy SUVs or F-150s with their rifles across the back? And speaking of rifles, alert to stay the hell in the woods just in case they need an ornament over their wood stoves. Life among these so-called highfalutin humanoids, I found that cool word once in a dictionary lying in a ditch. Yea, life among them certainly is not for the faint-hearted. They put on these outlandish clothes, orange as the maples in fall, climbing awkwardly and clumsily over stone walls, belching after a swig from their pocket flasks, making enough ruckus over the dry leaves and twigs to alert, speaking of alert, all of us meese, to amble away in good time so we can go mind our own business and find peaceful bowers not fraught with danger. They say they can't see our eyes in the dark like our faithful eyes in the headlights deer. They say we are so big that we are a menace, a peril. So why don't they just stay home by the fire, tend to their babies, and make cozy nests? I'm just now teaching my calves how to write. I'll find some charcoal somewhere from one of their pits. It will say, people, stay alert. And I'm known among my friends as a disgusting grammarian, so here's a short poem. whatever happened to me? Nominative, accusative, such a bother, such silly conventions to have to learn. Please, she said, give the book to Bob and I, as the blackboard screeches shattered my brain. Because, she clearly continued, me and him are going to read it together. The chalk and erasers fly through the air. The careful Germans don't gib ich das Buch. Surely the fancy French do not donne je le livre. And the musical Italians sing dai il libro a me. Me. I. Him. So please just hand me the book, or maybe give it to I.
Sure. Yeah.
That's it. I have a message from Janni, who had the croissant Renée next door. So this is an email from her. I don't know if I need my glasses or not, so I'm going to try without them first. I think we actually had the last event for poets in February of 2020 in the Café. So that was a month before COVID hit. Wonderful gathering that I loved hosting so much. Hope you can find a locale that will be available for many years to come. My husband and I are moving to Germany in February, settling into a home in the Harz Mountains. I hope we can start hosting music and poetry events at our friend's hotel. Winter there in the Harz are long and wonderful, for now at least. Climate change is certainly affecting snowfall. All the best to the group. Janni. Moselsky. Janni Moselsky. That was nice. Since we've met last time, we recently lost a lampshade poet, Florence Vogelin, and I want to start out by reading a poem by Florence. And this is from her second book. A Voice from the Edge of the Sea. Well, if that's what it takes to be a tree, I'll try it. It looks like certain death, but death is, after all, what one makes of it. I'll cantilever from this rocky coast, capture the morning light and a fraction of the afternoons. I'll laminate my roots in the stone. I'll find a way. And I'll be famous. The more I risk, the more I'm photographed. I'll laugh at anyone who tries to pry me off of this cliff. The wind thinks whiplash is the trick, and all that frantic foam, its self-deluding, self-destructive rage, wave after wave mortifying its wavy flesh. I'll be here at home, until I won't, the same as you. When you snap my picture frame and hang it on the wall, you'll see the spinning image of yourself, not nature's lucky residue, your gnarled limbs, arthritic hands, the proud portrait of your scars, your flaws. Gaul. We're buffalo frogs and fire ants, devils and dragonflies. We're a congress of baboons, a parliament of screeching owls. We're coyote prowling the underearth, bone crushers, wolverines. We peacock, preen, green, grin, hyena, crow, curless. So many of us, swinish, bullish, mulish, snakish, boll-weeveling the ground, swarming the sky, inclined to leave our blight in full surround. Bête noire, man of war. We're the most dangerous animal on earth. Wicked with want, a moral quandary with the howitzer. I wonder who will save us from ourselves, and which pufferfish or tsetse fly might be left to inherit a world we think we own. This I need my glasses for. This happened during the pandemic. It's called The Visitor. How it got in, I don't know, but there it was. 2 painted eyes on brown wings, bigger than my hands, fretting the window, the room, folding its enormity against the bedroom wall. I cupped it in a plastic bowl, carried it down the stairs and out the door, placed it in the midnight grass, removing the lid to let it do what moths must do. This morning, the bowl is empty. How is your life, I want to ask, since I have no one else to talk to. These days, when I have nothing necessary to do but stay away from everyone, I have time, so much time. And last night, I did this one thing, and I did it with care, enough care to set us free. And my supplication. Let me begin again with more cowbell. Let me improvise on bass. Let me start over. I'll do this again. Okay, supplication. Let me begin again with more cowbell. Let me improvise on bass, its funky plunk. Let me be both mighty wind and warm breeze, a shapeshifter, an eddy within the vortex. Let me begin again with upbeat thoughts shaped like squiggly fat balloons. This time, let me somersault through obedience, a wise child who will refuse a muzzle. And let me be a wolverine, sing like Nina Simone, live off the grid and run with inspiration. Let me return when the earth has realigned and healed its lacerations. Let me not ever have more technique than passion. I have rehearsed enough. Thank you for coming and helping to resurrect Lampshaders.
So please be patient with me.
Tell us your name.
So my name is Cassandra Monero, but everyone calls me Cassie. I live in White River here. I've been here about a year now. This one is called The Theory of Continental Drift. The Theory of Continental Drift, another long-winded sermon on love. Connections, fracture and shift, our control. In the world of us, imagine you and me. I slink beneath you, you slide over me. Sometimes we slip, tremor and tremble, reverberating at magnitudes no seismometer can scratch, no magnometer can track, no holy summit can endure, raining ash and burning laurels in magma. What remains? Obsidian glass, fire. It's a mistake to believe we won't drift. We are not supernatural, nor are we some sand dollar moon orbiting space like a counterweight preventing some cataclysmic wobble. Sex, love is radioactive communion. It whirls and warms water soundlessly, separately, within you, within me, and us, the way prayer clouds between our laced fingers a fallen steeple. I have one more. Sorry. Let me just find it real quick. This is the bedroom tiger lily. A palm-sized volcano drained of magma and light, you've dried out, curling in cold, disappearing down the crater toward the bud and all of it. For what? You are not a water lily, cloaked and coy, shrouded by white petals, nor a sunflower's artless, over-eager smile. When you bloom, mouth wide, you bear it all. freckled, veined, caramelizing sunlight and sugar, sucking, building us in and up to your bending tips, igneous gaze. Stem-bound star, stay. Keep yourself leaning and living, glowing orange in this half-filled face, because you, lava lily, stop everything in stride and pull us together like tectonic plates. Thank you.
Just two more quick ones. The first one, words travel. I'm under the illusion I don't need my glasses. We'll see. Words travel. After the plane lands, and with just enough time to change to another plane, I am channeled through another bright, broad passageway lined with restaurants of all types. I step out of the flow of walkers, checking to make sure I am headed to the correct departure gate. Ahead to my left, I see at the entrance to a sit-down restaurant a carved, three-quarter size, formally dressed, wood maitre d', with a clean cloth apron tied around its fat waist. A 3-year-old is pulling on the apron, talking to the ever-smiling, mustachioed statuette. I am too far away to hear, and quickly a woman with another child in tow appears and leads the still chattering child away. As I board the next flight, I'm still sorting through memories. Who, among so many, would be the longest record for me? Talking to someone with the same chance of a response. And if you'll allow me one more, okay, I'll take that as a positive silence. Sticks. It is late summer, a hot, humid afternoon. I am having a good run. I'm an older sprinter, just ambling up some of the steeper forested hills where I run near my home. I can still almost fly on the flats and downhills. One more mild uphill slope, and I can coast soaring down the hills on a different trail than the way up. I see a couple of odd sticks in the tall grass by the trail. It takes a few steady strides before I realize I need to go back and see what they are. Sweeping the sweat away from my eyes, it is a moment before I understand I'm looking at the two complete front legs of a small deer. Looking closer, they are much slimmer, but not as long as my arms. No blood or gore, even the hoofs are clean. I look around, wondering where the rest of the animal is. Short glances, like when you're looking at something obscene. I move back to the trail, only a little spooked. Crest the top of the rise and relax into an easy running rhythm. It is then my mind starts to tell me with great certainty, a deer that small would never make it through the soon arriving winter. I don't know where this has come from or why. I dismiss it. It starts up again, following me like some sly coyote all the way home. I think of that run again, though not sure how many years ago. There was death and exertion, and I am sure of the darkness of the fur, but I doubt I will ever understand why it stays in my mind, or my response to a small sadness. Thank you again.
Anybody else?
That made me just want to add these in, if you'll bear with me. I think you'll see how I feel it fit. Which one first? Born. And there's an epigraph to this, which is, being human is a guest house. And that's a quote from Rumi. What sort of thing is a life? This thing sourced at the whim or plea of two other lives soon gone, trundled along pathways undesigned, tricked into purpose. What sort of scaffold can a life climb to look back, to look forward, to change course, to defy the promises of importance? What chance is there to wink and turn about? This life will not be gift-wrapped, not leached of color, not offered finally as a cup of dust. This life will be a wild chant sung by a psalm singer in the lion house. This life will wield a pen racing to keep up with a mercurial mind. The rest may be silence. When we are gone. When we are gone, there will still be a kettle of hawks racing across this summer sky. There will be sleek, sparkling fish waltzing in the shallows, a parliament of owls still keeping watch high in the branches of the oaks. When we are gone, clouds will still form and reform, shape themselves into boxes and buses, into cathedrals, lions, dogs. Committees of raccoons will still raid the nests of guileless birds. Couples of dusty donkeys will still seek shade beneath the reaching branches. When we are gone, when our last remains are tossed into the sea, this world may reassemble. This time in favor of fur and feather, carapace and scales. All creatures that now survive in pain, decline, enslavement, may surge again to take their rightful turn on this green orb in space.
Yay. You have something more. Oh, you poetry people know what a pen tune is, right? Yeah. Okay. And this isn't depressing like the last of them. It's called Rare Days. What is so rare as a day in June, but ever, I say, is a fine day in fall. The magical color pours in my windows as I pore over a delicious tome. But ever, I say, is a fine day in fall. My cat's on my lap, picture of contentment, as I pore over a delicious tome. The two of us deny the outside cold. My cat's on my lap, picture of contentment. I cozy with its fur in a warm, soft wrap. The two of us deny the outside cold. He purring and happy to be with his mom. I cozy with his fur in a warm, soft wrap. Devil may care, nothing better to do. He purring and happy to be with his mom as autumn leaves fall gently outside. Devil may care, nothing better to do. The magical color pours in my windows as autumn leaves fall gently outside. But what is so rare as a day in June? This month,
I'm going to just say one or two quick things to wrap up. This was incredible. I just feel like what a gift to be in the room with you. I remember having this experience when I was teaching film at Dartmouth, which is how Jordan and I met, where the beginning of the term, students would come in and they all kind of, I couldn't tell them apart, they just had their backpacks and their whatnots. And then by the end, you would just see their souls up on the screen. And that's what I experienced tonight. I just saw a bunch of New Englanders on a cold night come in, and each of you and your different voices and sensibilities and pieces of life, it's just incredible. We absolutely would love to have you back, so please know that you're welcome here. If the bi-monthly schedule worked, that would be preferable just because we have a lot of different kinds of activities, and so we want to pace ourselves. But if that's not frequent enough, let's talk about a way to make it work for this group. We'd love to meet more of your members, and we'll do our part to keep reaching out if you're open to bringing in new lampshade poets.